Air compressors are generally broken down into two types: the start-stop style units and continuous run units. Start-stop style units are, for the most part, electric motor driven tank mounted style air compressors that are governed by a pressure switch. The pressure switch shows a demand in the air tank, and then the electric motor will, pressure switch turns on the electric motor runs till the pressure is satisfied. The pressure switch then turns off the power, and that's generally the start-stop style unit. The continuous run series, for the most part, are gasoline engine driven style air compressors, where in that instance the gasoline engine is started, it runs until the pressure reaches a preset point. At that point, then the additional air that the pump produces is vented back to the atmosphere, but the gasoline engine continues to run. So again, start-stop style units and continuous run units. In the tire air inflator industry, it's really this style compressor is a continuous run type compressor, because it runs as long as the timer is energized. Even though it does start-stop, it starts-stop based on a timer, not starts and stops based on pressure settings. So for this style of unit, then because it is a tankless type of operation, then we normally use the freewheel control valve. A freewheel valve, basically what it is a diverter valve, and it operates is that normally it's mounted directly to the air compressor, and then the air hose to the outlet port. When the timer comes on, it energizes the compressor starts, it pushes air down the air hose, and once the air hose is filled, the valve switches to the cutout stage. Once the cutout stage happens, then it vents any additional volume while the compressor is running. Any additional volume, it vents it back to the atmosphere. When you take the end of the the air hose and push it onto the tire chuck, the air in the hose goes into the tire. The valve senses that drop in pressure. When that drop in pressure is realized, the valve switches to the cut-in mode. The cut-in stage, then it refills the air hose. As long as the tire chuck is on the tire, the air is going to go into the tire. When you release the tire chuck off the tire, or release the lever, then the hose is recharged. Once the hose recharges, once it gets to this preset point, then the valve then goes back to the cutout stage and vents back to the atmosphere. And this cycle will continue as long as the compressor is run, or as long as the timer is energized. So for this demonstration, we're going to take a standard type of compressor. We're going to normally would mount the air hose directly to the compressor, but we're going to, for this demonstration, we're going to put a gauge in the line to show you how much pressure. Then this would be the outlet hose. The air compressor, we're going to have a gauge here to the valve, and then a gauge showing what the hose pressure is. So when we turn this unit on, it's going to pump up. Both the head pressure gauge and the hose pressure gauge are going to rise to, in this case for this valve, set at 120 pounds. Then once the valve reaches the cutout stage, then the air hose pressure will remain constant, and the head pressure drops down to 0. And this is very important, this style air compressor, because then that is what we call the freewheel portion. It basically allows the compressor to vent air back to the atmosphere, and the compressor is no longer making pressure. You're not making pressure, you're not creating heat. Heat is the biggest destroyer of air compressors anyway. So what'll happen is it'll come on, it'll run until the valve is set 120 pounds in this case. You'll see the pressure gauge drop back to 0. Hose pressure is still high. The head pressure drops to 0 until the pressure comes down. air pressure into the tire, you release that pressure, both pressures come back up, and then the head pressure drops back off again. And it'll continue to do that as long as the compressor runs. All time remaining that this compressor can still run cool. So you see there's zero pressure on the head, but yet there's still pressure in the air hose. Pressure will stay in the air hose until it leaks out or you vent the pressure back off. This allows the compressor to start under no load. There's no load against the head, so the compressor will restart with even though there's pressure in the air hose, then there won't be any pressure on the head. This style of valve is generally, there's no maintenance required on the valve. There's two adjustment settings on the valve. You set actually a cutout pressure. In this particular valve, this case is 120 pounds, so it's set at 120 pounds of cutout pressure, and it's also set with a differential pressure of 30 pounds. So a 30 pounds differential means that from the cut-in stage to the cut-out stage would be a 30-pound differential. So that in effect gives this particular valve a 90 pounds and 120 pound setting. Valves are available in other pressure settings. Pressures are not field adjustable. The blue indicator tamper resistance on here does indicate if it has been set. They're not field adjustable. Any issues with the valve, then that needs to be returned back to the factory. The valve is a robust valve. There's really not any maintenance required on this style valve. The biggest problem with that we find in this valve is that dirt that is ingested through the air compressor will stick on the moving parts in the valve and can lock the valve up. Biggest thing there is on the air compressor, you want to go in and make sure that the air filter in the compressor is clean, and make sure that that style of compressor, if this particular one is a pleated paper element style air replacement element, and make sure that's clean, otherwise it's going to ingest dirt. This style of air compressor doesn't need this good of air filter, but this air filter is primarily for the benefit of the valve, not necessarily so much for the air compressor. If you do experience a situation to where the valve is it sticks, if it sticks in probably the cutout stage, what you can do is you can take the valve, remove the valve off of the compressor. You can spray some type of cleaner fluid inside, something like electrical parts cleaner or something that'll basically wash out the minute dust particles that'll be collected inside. Put it back on there, and 9 times out of 10 it'll start working again. So there's really not any field serviceable parts or anything that can be done in the field for this style of valve. If you need a change in adjustment, change in pressures, they can be set at a service center or at the factory. If the tamper indicator is disturbed, then that will void the warranty of this style of valve. That's the freewheel unloader valve mechanism and setup, and that's how it's operated.